So we move now in public session on to item 3.4. We have correspondence from the Deputy Minister for Climate Change in respect of the Swansea (closure of the Prince of Wales Dock) Harbour Revision Order 2022. Just a couple of points of interest on this. This is not one that requires a procedure order. So there's no legislative documentation required to be laid before the Senedd. However, it's actually quite welcome that the Deputy Minister has decided to write to the committee on this occasion, as this is the first harbour order that Welsh ministers have had to consider since the functions were transferred pursuant to the Wales Act 2017. So if the Minister is listening in to this public session, we really welcome his openness and transparency and the fact that he's thought to inform not just this committee, but in so doing to inform the Senedd as well. So we might want to just use the back channels to convey our thanks to him through our clerking team. We'll go on now then to item 3.5. We have a letter here from the Llywodraeth in which she responds to the concerns expressed by our committee in our report on the legislative consent memorandum on the British Sign Language Bill. Now we've got that letter in our pack, colleagues, as well as the earlier letter of the 26th. So we've got the letter of 26th of May replying and the letter of the 10th of May, which was ours. Now you'll recall that we expressed our disappointment at the fact that an opportunity for a backbench member to introduce legislation on British Sign Language has not arisen despite widespread support existing for such legislation. This was something that was picked up by Alan and by others on the committee, and we thought it was worth raising. So, of interest from the response for members, the Business Committee has agreed to consider the potential for reviewing the selection process for members' bills when this can be accommodated within its wider procedural work programme. Now, we may want to return to this in private to discuss again, because it's good that it's flagged it and it's good that it's raised it, and the Business Committee has sort of signalled something positive there in response. But just to note, it's the potential for reviewing the selection process for members' bills. So I'm not entirely clear whether that means prioritising private members' bills, as opposed to simply which ones should be selected. But maybe we'll return to that in private session and see what we think. Alan.
I was quite disappointed to see this correspondence, if I'm quite honest with you. I thought it was really disappointing. I think the points that we made as a committee stand, and I don't think the reply from the Llywodraeth really affects that. I don't think it answers the points that we made. I'd welcome a conversation in private session about this, but the point I would also make is that the Business Committee, and I think this does question our role as a committee, because I worry that the first I've heard about this as a member is in this piece of correspondence, and that the way the Business Committee operates is that it is entirely dependent on party representatives reporting back to party groups what is happening. And I think if we are considering a change to how the Senedd operates, that should be a matter of public record. And for example, if you're changing the way in which private members' business is being allocated or selected or determined, well, that's going to be of major interest to campaign groups and to members of the public. You remember here as an MP that, you know, when the private members' bill ballot takes place, there are hundreds of people contacting you, asking you to take up forward bills and the rest of it. It doesn't happen in Cardiff because everybody knows there is virtually no chance of private members' business getting anywhere or having a place on our agenda. So I think this is a matter of public interest, and it's a matter what the public should be involved with. So if Business Committee is considering these matters, then it should be a public consultation, not one which takes place in private.
Thank you, Alan. And I can see some nods as well there from Rhys as well and from James. So let's return to this in private. Let's regard this exchange of correspondence as an opening salvo, but there's still work from our perspective that we think needs to be done on this. So we'll go back to this in private. Thanks, Alan. We go on to item 3.6. where we have correspondence that has been sent to the Llywydd and to the Right Honourable Sir Oliver Heald following the first meeting of the UK-EU Parliamentary Partnership Assembly. I'm not sure that there's much to put on in the public session on that at the moment, but we might want to return to that. So we'll note that. Item 3.7, we have correspondence from the House of Lords International Agreements Committee in respect of the International Agreement on the Convention on the International Organization of Marine Aids to Navigation. Now, the letter is in response to our letter of the 20th of May, which noted a disparity regarding the consultation process between the UK and the Welsh Governments on the international agreement on that Convention on the International Organization for Marine Aids to Navigation. There's a couple of things I just want to pull out from this while we're in public. First of all, for members to note that the International Agreements Committee considers this to be a serious matter and has indeed written to the UK government. But secondly, members will also note the supportive words from Baroness Hayter as regards our planned visit to the UK Parliament next week. So again, I think that engagement on an interparliamentary basis is paying dividends. Part of the role of our committee is to try and also, in respect of the first point there on the disparity, is to try and surface some of these things, make them more visible to the public as well as to the parliaments who do take an interest in this, as we can see. So if you're happy to note that, and we might return to that in private then as well. Item 3.8, we have a letter from the Minister for Climate Change in which he responds to a series of questions posed by the Climate Change, Environment and Infrastructure Committee regarding an exclusion to the UK Internal Market Act 2020 for single-use plastics. Again, this is something that for quite some time has been of high topical interest to people in Wales, members here in the Senedd, but also across the UK as well, public and parliamentarians. So, in the letter, members will note that the Minister confirms it is her intention to consent to the making of a UK statutory instrument which is required for the exclusion. And in doing so, members will also note that the views of the Senedd Committee have not been sought in advance of the Minister confirming an intention to consent. So I think this will be something we'll want to return to in private session as well. Otherwise, if you don't have any comments on that, we're happy to note that. Okay, yes, indeed. Now then, we are, in that case, ready to move into private session where we have quite a bit of business to do. So under item number 4, using Standing Order 17.42, could I ask committee members if they're happy now to move into private session? And we are. We'll just wait to be told we're in private now.